Imburgia here, and we're going to do all different kind of hip stretches, hopefully some new things you haven't seen before, so we'll start with that. Lying postures first. So this is going to be purely demo. I will talk you through a little bit of modifications and deepening, but for the most part, I'll just go through it quickly, write things down, draw little stick figures, and then in your own practice, start to play with that. So one of the lying ones I like to do is the lying hand to big toe pose C. It's where you cross the leg to the opposite side of the room, basically, and you hold on to the foot or the outer leg somewhere or a strap with the opposite hand. The same side hand can go to your hip and push the hip away from the shoulder, making sure it stays somewhat close to the floor. It's okay if it's off the floor, but you don't want to end up in a twist. Now from there you have through the whole pose, which most people are familiar with. There's the holding the thigh, the shin, and there's a straight leg position. Now you want to make sure, first of all, if you want to deepen the stretch, lean over to the left hip, reach the right hip away from you, so that helps to deepen it. Remember, no knee pain. You can also use your elbow to gently block the knee from falling to the shoulder. Now another variation is to hold on to the knee or foot. You have, of course, that's a good modification if you can't even reach your thigh. Granted, you can also use a strap. But you have lying rock the baby where you hold the knee, foot with hands, or inner wrist, inner forearms, possibly all the way to inner elbows. Bending the left knee makes it easier. Straight leg position is harder. You can also have half dead bug pose, half dead bug. You have bent knee to make it easier, straight leg to make it harder, holding foot with one or both hands. Make sure your knee is on the outside of your torso and your arm isn't in the way. Then you have your variation with the knee to the center of your chest. So you cross the leg over to the left, the right hip comes off the floor, you're holding on to the knee with the right hand, you're holding onto the foot with the left hand, you're pulling the knee in, and you're keeping your foot more in line with your shoulder. It wants to hang out by your hip, so keep it up by the shoulder, bring the knee closer to the chest. All right, so we have those stretches, and then we're going to go to seated stretches. Seated ones, you have ankle to knee pose. Some people call it fire log. Some people call it double pigeon. Doesn't matter, make sure your feet are more at your knees. You don't want them tucked into your hips. You lose a lot of the stretch that way. Also, make sure your back foot, or if you're stacking, your top or your bottom foot, toes are poking out. Again, that just makes sure that your hip isn't pulled in. You lengthen and fold. Every time you fold, try to move from your pelvis. This way, you're not rounding. So tailbone lifts, and you fold forward from there, rather than staying stuck and you end up all hunched over. A variation of ankle to knee pose is to go off to the side. I like to go to the top leg or front leg foot, and you reach out through the hand while reaching back through that right hip. You can go to the other side. I just feel like I get a better stretch in that position. So either one is fine. Then you have your cow face pose. Cow face. You have knees at the midline. If you can't do both knees, just straighten your bottom leg if it bothers it. Most people practice with the feet close to the hips. If you want to deepen the stretch, feet away from your hips. Also, to help deepen it, make sure you stay grounded, press into the outer edge of your right foot. It helps to drop the hip down. Just like ankle to knee pose, you fold forward and you lengthen. If you want to add the arms, you can. Then you have your half Lord of the fish pose, Ardha Matsyendrasana. You have your foot on the floor, just like cow face. If you need to, you can straighten out this bottom leg. Big toe is down, so the knee is up. If the knee is down, you lose a lot of the stretch. So you bring knee to chest. You can just hold this if you don't even want to add the twist. Make sure the hip is down as you pull the knee in. You can also add a twist as a traditional thing, but remember, knee to chest. That's where that hip stretch comes in. Then we have star pose. Star pose, you have your feet away from your hips. So it's different from bound angle in that sense. You're also not trying to bring your knees down to the floor, and you are rounding, but you're not trying to round. So reach your chest forward and try to bring your forehead to the arches of your feet. And then if you need to adjust your feet, then do so. But it's a nice hip stretch. You might feel it in your thighs if you're tighter, but it's a little bit more of the hip stretch. Then from there, we'll go into a lunge. You can get into it any way you want. High or low, it's up to you. You have your inside lunge, which is both hands over to the outside, the inside of the foot, which is to the left in this case. You lengthen as you fold. Now, the first position is with the knee pulled in. Make sure your arch is in line with your elbow if you're on your elbows, or in line with your hand if you're in line with your hands. If it's too far back, even half of an inch, it makes a big difference in the stretch. Second position, you have your big toe off the floor and the knee going away from your shoulder. Third position, you just turn your toes out to the side, but still knee away from your shoulder. They'll all help to stretch around the right hip. Then you have, I call it Shiva's lunge. I got it from Shiva Ray in one of her workshops. I don't remember what she calls this, so that's why I call it Shiva's lunge. So you're up in like an inside lunge, and then you turn your feet to the side. Make sure you're on the outer edge of your left foot, not the inner. Make sure when you turn your right foot out, your right knee is okay with it. There are variations where you reach over or around the shin, and then there's just one where you can have the left hand on the floor, you're pushing away to lift your rib cage, so you're also getting a little bit of an oblique stretch. Then from there, you have cross leg pyramid. Cross leg pyramid is like pyramid, but with your foot crossed all the way over to the opposite sides of your mat. The hands are to the outside of your foot. You're reaching your chest forward, and then you're lowering your elbow down to the floor. So the weight is still in your feet. The weight is not in the hands. They're there to help you with your balance. That's it. So you're not leaning over to the hands. You're not buckling the legs to try to get down. The elbow will maybe come down to the floor, or maybe it won't. Just relax and breathe into it. You have your standing pigeon. Try not to fall over. You have your standing pigeon, which is like doing chair pose with a figure 4 or through a whole pose type leg position. If you need help with your balance, you can do this with your bottom on the wall, or of course just sitting on the floor or sitting on the chair. You cross the leg over, your outer ankle over your left thigh, flex the foot, external rotation of the hip, lengthen and fold. You can bring your hands straight away to the floor if you want to work on balance, hands at the chest prayer position. Elbows are closer together so the triceps are in front of your shin. To deepen the stretch, what I do is I hook that foot around my arm, I reach that hip back, and then I reach the hands forward. So those are just ways to deepen it. Now from there we have your pigeons, your actual pigeon. First one will be hovering pigeon. So this one again is like a lunge. Your foot is out in front of you all the way forward, well past that knee. You have your leg externally rotating. You're on the outer edge of your foot, not on the outer edge of your ankle. Make sure your foot's only at the midline. If you go too far to the left, your knee will come down to the floor, and again, you're just in a normal pigeon. So make sure your foot's at the midline, all the way forward. You lengthen, you fold, and again, your foot will be more in line with your face, not underneath your chest. Then you have pigeon, half pigeon. So you've got the leg down on the floor, you're centered and everything. Maybe your shin is parallel to the front of your mat, maybe it's not, it's closer to the hip, it's okay. Just like normal, you can lengthen and fold. There's the variation of the twist, where you have the thread the needle, you also have the side prayer. What I do to deepen the stretch though is I go over to this front leg foot, and I stretch out, again, back through my right hip and out through my right hand. So you just have to experiment, explore within the postures. If I move a little bit this way, if I move a little bit that way, how does it feel? Is it better? Is it worse? Is it painful? No pain. If you're stretching and you have pain, your body is going to go on lockdown and you're just wasting your time. Worst case scenario, you're going to possibly pull something. So ease into it, relax, breathe. Let go of limitations in regards to mental limitations, what you think you can do, because that can be really limiting. So, but you do also have to honor some certain limitations like bone structure, injuries. If you had surgeries and you have bolts and stuff inside your body, then that's going to change things. So be mindful of that and just honor your body. Just relax, breathe. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll get another video in soon.